Okay, so in this video, we're going to look at doing what's called integer problems. And so it's more so like problem solving around different types of numbers. So there's a couple vocab words we have to go through before we can get to some examples. So if you hear the word consecutive, think about what that means. So if you've ever heard like 4 consecutive days, that means 4 days in a row. So I always think of it as like in a row. So if you're looking at consecutive numbers, you're looking at numbers in a row, like in order. We could say in order. Okay. And then integer, if you remember from unit number 1, integer is any positive or negative counting number. And you do need to know this. Okay, because it's gonna be a word that's thrown around a lot in this year and next year, so you need to make sure you know what an integer is. And that would be anything like -5, 0, 1, 6, -72, any whole number that's either positive or negative. No decimals, nothing like that. So we're going to specifically look, if we put those two words together, we look at consecutive integers. So that is consecutive integers in a row. So that can be, an example might be 3, 4, 5. You might have 10, 11, 12. If you have negative numbers, you might have -15, -14, -13. Okay, so just numbers that are in a row. So say we didn't know what number we're talking about, and I want to talk about first consecutive integer, second consecutive integer, third consecutive integer. So for example, think about, I'll pick a random integer 6. Okay, if I don't know that integer, I might label it as x. So then the second integer would be 7. Think about how I would get to 6 or 7 from 6. Well, I'd add 1. So if I take x and I add 1, I know that I will get to the next consecutive integer. And then I can keep going. Okay, and if I want to do 8, I got to take that original value, I got to take 6, and I got to add 2 to it. So to find the third integer, I have to add 2. To find the fourth, I have to add 3 from that original number. And for the fifth, I have to add 4 to that original number. Okay, so this is kind of important to how we're going to use our let statements to solve some of these word problems. So I'm going to go through a couple examples. The first example, find 2 consecutive integers whose sum is 61. So the first thing you want to do, it's always going to help you, is write your let statements. So I always think to myself, what are the things I don't know? I don't know what the 2 consecutive integers are. So that's the thing I'm going to make my variable. So I'm going to let x equal 1, or the first consecutive integer. And then I know that the next consecutive integer, to get to it, all I have to do is add 1 to it. So that'll be the second integer. So once I have that, now I can start to create some type of equation. So 2 consecutive integers whose sum, that means I can add them together. Is a word for equal sign, and then 61. So that means I have to add both of these together. So if I do x, that represents the first integer. And then if I add x plus 1 to it, I know that's the second integer, is equal to 61. So that's my whole equation. Notice how I have 2 x's because I have to add these both separately. So after I have this part, now I can just combine like terms. X plus x is 2x, plus 1 is 61. And now I can go ahead and solve. Divide by 2, I get x equals 30. So now I know that my first consecutive integer is 30. So my integers are my answers, and this is where you have to write your answer. So make sure you write your answer, is 30, and then the next one is going to be 31. So those are the 2 integers that when you add together, you get 61. Okay, that's first example. The second example is a little bit more complicated. This one says, find 3 consecutive integers such that the sum of the first and the third is 40. So the first thing I'm going to do is think about the things I don't know. So I don't know the 3 consecutive integers. So that's the part that I'm going to use my variables for. So I'm going to let x equal the first integer. I know to get to the next integer up, I'm going to add 1 to x. So that's the second one. And I know if I add 2 to x, that'll get me the third one. So now that I have this labeled, I can use them in my equations. So now I'm going to read a little bit carefully. Such that the sum, that means add, of the first and the third. So that means I need this integer and I need this integer, and I have to add them together. So I'm going to have x, that's the first integer, and then the third one is x plus 2. And I know that the sum of those two is 40. So that's how I can come up with that equation. And so I can just combine like terms. I get 2x plus 2 equals 40. Subtract 2 on both sides. I get 2x equals 38. I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides, and I get x equals 38 divided by 2 is 19. So I know that my first integer is 19. My second integer is going to be 20, because if I add 1 to 19, I get 20. And my third integer is going to be 21. And that's my answer. Okay, and I could even prove it because I know that 19 plus 21, when I add them together, their sum is 40. So those are 2 examples. In the practice, you should see examples both of those. And if you have any questions, please reach out to your teacher.